You're watching ABC7 News at 7.
What's changed in the last month in one word is urgency. There was a debate about the need for security on certain campuses. That debate doesn't exist anymore.
It's been a month since Parkland. Students, parents, teachers, all demanding changes. But what's different today, if anything, than a month ago? Good evening, everyone. I'm Alan Cohn, and welcome to ABC7 at 7. We begin tonight with hundreds of thousands of students walking out of class today from Sarasota to San Diego, taking their demands for gun reform straight to lawmakers. At Booker High School, students went above and beyond the standard 17-minute protest. Students spoke out, hoping to motivate the rest of the student body. The message, their voices matter, rang out loud and clear. Administrators embracing the students and their initiative, helping them plan the protest. And despite not walking out of class for 17 minutes like the rest of the nation, students released dove balloons into the sky in memory of each person gunned down exactly 1 month ago.
We're moving in the right direction. Progress is being made right before our eyes, and I think that it's a really good thing that we should not stop.
I think it's that our age doesn't have to hold us back, despite what some people in older generations want us to think.
Students at Braden River and Bayshore High School also participated in a walkout. In Charlotte County, no student walkouts were held today in any of the county's 3 high schools. Instead, students and staff also decided to honor those who lost their lives with a memorial service. A judge entered a plea of not guilty for the accused Parkland school shooter. A grand jury indicted 19-year-old Nicholas Cruz last week on 17 counts of first-degree premeditated murder and 17 counts of first-degree attempted murder. Today's plea came after Cruz's defense attorney told the judge the teen was standing mute to the charges, meaning he is declining to enter a plea. New details tonight about a Northport stabbing with a strange connection to an infamous murder case. Police say it happened on Wesley Lane, where they believe a man tried to kidnap a young woman as she got out of a car. Police believe they know each other and say as they struggled, the woman stabbed the man in self-defense. The man took off running, but was later found nearby with stab wounds. He was flown to the hospital before being pronounced dead. He's identified as 32-year-old John Christopher Ludwig of Port Charlotte. Now get this. Ludwig had claimed to dispose of the remains of Natalie Holloway, a teenage girl who went missing in Aruba back in 2005. Northport police say they are aware of Ludwig's history and his comments surrounding the disappearance of Holloway. Police say the authorities who are working on that case have been notified. The Sarasota Sheriff's Office has made an arrest in connection with a reported shooting in Upper Park last week. 20-year-old Amir Melendez has been arrested and charged with discharging a firearm in a public place. He also has outstanding warrants, including attempted burglary, aggravated stalking, and contempt of court. Law enforcement responded to Upper Park Thursday afternoon after Melendez allegedly fired shots from a handgun. Melendez and a relative were allegedly involved in the dispute. Melendez remains in custody on a $10,000 bond. The former Punta Gorda officer charged with manslaughter in the shooting of a woman during a civilian training class will be tried in Charlotte County. Lee Cole's attorney filed for a change of venue 3 times since December. A judge is now denying the request. Cole accidentally shot 73-year-old Mary Knowlton in August 2015 during a shoot-don't-shoot drill. He was supposed to have blanks in the gun. The trial of the widow of the Pulse nightclub shooter Omar Mateen began in Orlando today. Omar opened fire in the Orlando nightclub in 2016, killing 19 people. He was killed by police responding to the 29 people. Police responded to the scene. Noor Mateen is accused of aiding and abetting her husband. Prosecutors say the 31-year-old admitted to investigators she knew her husband was planning the massacre. Salmon's defense cast her as a victim, not an accomplice. If convicted, she could face life in prison. Governor Rick Scott has signed a controversial education bill into law. The bill will expand the voucher-like scholarships to send students to private schools and could force some teacher unions to disband if they do not meet membership requirements. The measure will also provide state-funded scholarships to send bullied students to private schools. One of the most contentious provisions in the bill would require teachers' unions to seek recertification if their membership falls below 50% of the group they represent in contract negotiations.
Unions have discretion in how much they charge for dues. So theoretically, any of the labor unions, if they're not getting the proper turnout, they could actually lower the dues as needed to make sure that they get at least more than half paying dues.
Earlier this week, the governor also signed a bill permanently expanding Bright Future merit scholarships to state universities while expanding or creating several need-based programs and allow Florida universities to provide scholarships to out-of-state national merit scholars. Now let's head over to ABC7's chief meteorologist, First Alert Forecast. Bob.
Alan, thanks, and good evening, everyone. A nice warm day. Well, not really. Temperatures well below average. It looks warm, though, from this video as you look at the afternoon. Seas were up there a little bit. Winds out of the north-northwest, so kept it some 10 to 15 degrees below what it normally is this time of year. So this string of cool days continues here in the month of March, as February was the hottest we've ever seen. Now, March being one of the coolest. 59 degrees right now, the dew point. 38, winds out of the northwest at 15, the pressure 30-11. That's high. That continues to stay with us, and we'll keep our skies clear tonight, which will allow that temperature to plummet close to the dew point temperature. We're going to see lows into the upper 30s to low 40s in inland locations, Arcadia, Sebring, and Avon Park, as well as into Wauchula. But near the coast, in the low to mid 40s, not out of the question. 59 degrees, our current temp, 66 in Orlando, 59 in Jacksonville. There are freeze warnings for Florida, mainly north of it looks like Tampa Bay area, north of Orlando, through Gainesville, all the way up to Tallahassee tonight. That freeze warning is in effect until 9 a.m. tomorrow. Look at these lows, too. These are projected lows, 39 in Northport, 42 in Port Charlotte. Rotunda, Placida, due to the water there, will be a little bit warmer. 42 in Inglewood, Mayaca City at 39, Lakewood Ranch, 41 degrees. We were at 43 this morning at the Sarasota Braden Airport, so similar readings expected tomorrow morning with a little bit of a breeze at 5 to 10. It will make it feel even colder to start things off, it looks like, on Thursday. And it's not over quite yet. We're going to have another chilly round on Friday morning, and then things start to warm back up as we head into the weekend. We'll have that weekend weather forecast in just a few minutes. Alan?
Bob, thank you. Tonight, our hearts are heavy here at ABC7. A beloved member of our community and the ABC7 family has passed away. Dr. Ed James II dedicated his life to making the Suncoast a better place to live for families now and in the future. Dr. James touched countless numbers of lives. ABC7's Dwayne Lindo has a look back at his influential life.
Dr. Edward James dedicated his life to journalism, fighting for equal rights and being a voice for the voiceless. He was part of a family that had a storied history of civil rights activism and spent decades serving as a leader of the African American community. Both personally and professionally, Dr. James helped make the Suncoast a better place. Dr. James had an extensive background in government and public relations. His career included jobs as a columnist and government reporter, as well as a public information officer and deputy chief investigator for the state attorney's office for the 12th Judicial Circuit of Florida. Dr. James joined the ABC7 family back in 1972 as a weekend news anchor. That year, he also started producing and hosting the show Black Almanac.
Good morning. I'm Ed James, and this is Black Almanac.
It is now the longest airing locally produced public affairs program in the southeastern United States. Over the years, Black Almanac helped shed a light on concerns of the African American community, specifically Newtown. Dr. James fought for justice for a mother whose son was killed in an officer-involved shooting. He also invited law enforcement officials, local and state government leaders on the show regularly to get answers on what they were doing for the people in our communities. In 2017, Black Almanac celebrated its 45th anniversary. But it was the work Dr. James did outside the show that also made a lasting difference. Dr. James helped with the desegregation of the Sarasota County Public Library. He also served as a mentor for both adults and young people.
It was Ed James, that impacted my life.
Including the principal of Booker High School, Dr. Rachel Shelley, by helping her graduate college. Dr. James also helped facilitate improvements in the Newtown community, including a new dugout at the Newtown Estates baseball field, so players would be protected from bad weather. That dugout is now dedicated in honor of Dr. James. Dr. James also spent decades working with nonprofit groups, including the NAACP, Coalition of African American Leadership, North Sarasota County Civic League, and many more. Dr. James was honored with a Lifetime Service Award and a Freedom Award by the Sarasota County NAACP. He was also given the Lifetime Achievement Award by the Sarasota African American Chamber of Commerce. Dr. James is survived by his wife Helen and 3 children. He was 78 years old.
All right, crew, let's get started. Sure.
Don't ignore the law. You must call 811 at least 2 to 3 days before any digging project so you can avoid hitting our essential buried utilities. For digging projects big or small, make the call to 811.
Credit card debt can ruin your life. If you owe $10,000 and minimum payments are siphoning away your paycheck each month, you can get debt-free in less time than you think.
I've paid $800 a month for the past 3 years and haven't changed the balance on my credit card.
Get debt-free now has a program to reduce your debt, stop the harassing phone calls, avoid financial ruin, and settle for less than you owe.
I feel like a huge weight has been lifted off my shoulders.
You're pre-approved for our special hardship program if you owe $10,000 or more. Upon payment of your new lower balance, your debt will finally shrink until you are debt-free.
My family no longer has 30 years of payments ahead of us at 20% interest.
There's no fees until you see results. So call now, make one monthly program payment, and free up your cash. Resolve your debt.
Call 800-685-6422, 800-685-6422.
Florida Studio Theater presents Blue Suede Shoes, celebrating the birth of rock and roll. From the father of rock and roll, Chuck Berry, to the king himself, Elvis Presley, this musical review features such great hits as Rock Around the Clock, Mustang Sally, Johnny Be Good, and of course, Blue Suede Shoes. Critics are calling Blue Suede Shoes a burst of rock history, dynamic and high voltage. Audiences are calling it phenomenal. Blue Suede Shoes has been held over by popular demand. Tickets can be purchased by calling 941-366-9000 or by visiting floridastudiotheater.org.
I witnessed him have 2 heart attacks in ICU. He went through seizures.
We'd much rather have Aaron like this than dead. A lot of parents don't have that luxury.
He can't talk. He can't walk. This is a condition Aaron will live with for the rest of his life because he abused prescription pills.
Mind your meds. Learn more from the Partnership for Drug-Free Kids.
Get breaking news alerts focused on the Suncoast. Download the ABC7 News app.
It has been a month since 17 people, including 14 students, were gunned down at a high school in Florida. Yes, the state legislature has acted, but did it go far enough or too far? And what about Congress? ABC7's Adam Cellini has more.
Lieutenant Joel Perez visits 4 to 5 different Manatee County schools every day. The Sheriff's Office School Resource Unit used to cover 15 schools, but after 17 people were gunned down at Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School on Valentine's Day, 38 schools now fall under their watch.
The school administration's loving it. The deputies are loving it. Connecting with the kids at the elementary level.
The Manatee County School District wasted little time making changes right away, approving over $500,000 to put a school resource officer or deputy in every one of their schools, and for many of the high schools, raising it from 1 officer to 2. The extra security is extra work for the Sheriff's Office, using off-duty deputies to fill the schools.
They all have already been briefed on what to expect at the school level. So I think that we're doing a really good job with that.
This is life after the Parkland, Florida tragedy, with school security heavy on the minds of many. In Sarasota, the school district created an email address after the shooting for feedback about their security. In 2 days, they had 700 messages.
What's changed in the last month, in one word, is urgency. There was a debate about the need for security on certain campuses. That debate doesn't exist anymore.
Sarasota Superintendent Todd Bowden is now debating whether to suspend other important capital projects to focus instead on hardening campus security. That could mean suspending plans to build 2 new schools in the district.
We've made some commitments. We've said to schools that we were going to do certain projects, and we've gone back to those schools and said, at this point in time, we're going to focus solely on safety security until all of our campuses meet that standard.
However, unlike Manatee, Sarasota schools have not come up with a plan for more resource officers, waiting instead for lawmakers who rushed to pass Governor Rick Scott's massive school safety bill, which funds more security and mental health treatment in schools.
By the time everybody hit the button, we were literally emotionally drained.
Venice State Representative Julio Gonzalez, a member of the NRA, voted against that bill for one reason.
I thought it unduly restricted the constitutional rights of 18 to 21-year-olds.
Sarasota State Representative Joe Gruters voted for the bill and an amendment negating its proposed school marshal program, which would put guns in the hands of teachers. That amendment did not, however, pass.
People on both sides aren't happy with this, but at the end of the day, we got to do what's best for our students, the school system. And for me as a parent, I want to make sure I do what's best interest for my child who's sitting in one of those classes.
But what neither state nor federal lawmakers plan to touch is something parents of the school shooting victims pleaded for in town halls following the attack: an assault weapons ban.
It is too easy to get. It is a weapon of war. The fact that you can't stand with everybody in this building and say that, I'm sorry.
In Sarasota, Adam Cellini, ABC7, your Suncoast News.
The chair of the Sarasota School Board, the president of the Brady campaign, the lawyer for the NRA, and one of the Suncoast best political analysts. In a moment, a trapezoid you can't miss.
Accolades are great. Just wait until you see our prices. Rugs as Art, Sarasota's only area rug superstore.
My name is Blake. I received a heart transplant when I was 2 weeks old. I play defense for the Red Hot Tornadoes. Sometimes my heart starts pounding like faster and faster as I go. I know I have someone else's heart inside me. It makes me feel happy because someone was generous enough to give me a second chance to live.
This gift of life was made possible by an organ donor. Imagine what you could make possible. Sign up as an organ, eye, and tissue donor. Go to organdonor.gov.
When it comes to drinking, what do you think moderation is? The U.S. Dietary Guidelines define moderation as up to 1 drink a day for women and up to 2 drinks a day for men. So what's a drink? The guidelines say a drink equals 12 ounces of beer, 5 ounces of wine, or a cocktail with 1.5 ounces of distilled spirits. Each contains the same amount of alcohol. Like to learn more? Visit drinkinmoderation.org.
Okay, so we drowned the fire, stirred it, drowned it again, and now just feel if it's cold.
Yeah.
Cool.
Smokey just gave me a bear hug.
I know. I already posted it.
Patriotism. It inspires passionate debate, and it's worn like a badge of honor with good reason, because it means love and devotion for one's country. But what really makes up this country of ours? It's the people. To love America is to love all Americans. This year, patriotism shouldn't just be about pride of country. It should be about love. Love beyond age, sexuality, disability, race, religion, and other labels. because love has no labels.
Welcome back. It has been a month since Parkland. Have we done enough? Have we done too much? Today on the Suncoast, across Florida and around the nation, from Washington, D.C. to California, students, teachers, administrators weighed in as one teenager in Indiana said, "We are tired of thoughts and prayers. Do something, finally." We have done something here in Florida, at least the state legislature has, by passing the first gun control legislation in 30 years, raising the age to buy a long gun, a 3-day waiting period, mental health provisions, but no assault weapons ban. In Washington, the House voting today to fund more security at schools, and that's about it. Joining us for more is Bridget Ziegler, the chair of the Sarasota County School Board, Carol Resignio of the Brady Campaign to Prevent Gun Violence, Frank Alcock, political science professor at New College, and joining us by Skype is Ron Chapman, an attorney for the NRA. And Bridget, let me start with you. School districts have to opt in to the guardianship program that was passed by the state legislature. As you know, Sheriff Knight was on this broadcast last week, and he did express some frustration that the school board is not acting fast enough on his ideas to train former military and law enforcement types to be in the schools armed.
Right. So, well, one thing I'll say about the state school safety bill that was passed in Tallahassee, it does allow for flexibility. So that in the 67 counties, determining what that looks like. Our sheriff, we are tremendously fortunate to have a very proactive sheriff. I have a great relationship with him and have talked to him extensively because he knew this was coming down and knew that we needed to act right away. So he has provided the school district, the school board, with some options. In addition, I know the superintendent in the beginning had mentioned some of the infrastructure, budgetary components that we are revising to harden our schools within year one. And now on March 22nd, we will have another executive session this next upcoming Tuesday to establish the 3 different options that are in the bill and which action we're going to be taking forward. So.
And Carol, let me ask you this. You know, Joe Gruters, the state representative, was here the other night. He voted for the state bill. And by doing that, he was basically putting his A rating with the NRA in jeopardy because he, after all, voted to raise the minimum wage to buy a long gun. And he basically said that, look, both sides of this issue really have to give a little bit, and this is what was the best that can be done right now. Your response?
Well, my response would be that it's been a long time coming, and I still think they could have done a lot more. I would never say turn down money for mental health projects. I would never say turn down help or money for law enforcement, and I would certainly leave that to the school districts. But there are so many more things that could have been done. I'm not sure any of this involved gun reform.
Okay, and on the flip side of that, Ron Chapman, you are with a lawyer for the NRA, which is now suing the state of Florida for raising the minimum age to buy a long gun. You know, there's been so much emotion on this, and if you listen to the students and many of their parents, this is one thing that they said is the minimum that should be done.
Well, I understand that's what the students said, but the students and the parents aren't the arbiters of what the Constitution says. And the Second Amendment, says that person of the age of majority has rights under the Second Amendment. And I don't think Florida legislature can change that. So in this particular case, the NRA is basically taking the position that the ACLU should take, and that is that the legislature cannot arbitrarily change the age of majority when it comes to buying a long rifle. You have a constitutional right for that. You can change the age of drinking. You can change the age of driving. Those aren't constitutional rights. But the Second Amendment is a constitutional right, and you can't do that. Okay. One of the things a lot of people did, and this piece of legislation does, is that systematically reduces the rights of individuals. We can talk about some of the mental health provision. For example, you can do this ex parte notice if somebody has failing grade. I mean, I don't know that that's the criteria we should be using in order to investigate individuals.
And Ron, I want to dip more into that in our next segment, but Frank, I do want to get to you because this is at least the politics of it all here in Florida.
It is, and there's an interesting contrast with what we're seeing right now in the state of Florida vis-a-vis what we're seeing at in the federal government. I think at the federal government level there was a moment, an important moment, I think, where we needed the president to step up and exert some leadership, and it looked like he was going to do that, but the story ended the way that it typically ends. Contrast that with what we've seen, I think, on the part of the governor, even the response of Senator Rubio. I don't think that this bill goes far enough. I agree with Carol on a number of issues, but at the same time, I think the governor made it a sincere attempt to move the ball forward and do something that was plausible. And I think, you know, Rubio's initial response, it was an honest attempt to at least open a conversation that hasn't been had in a long time.
Okay, we are just getting warmed up, and we'll have much more on 1 month after Parkland, right after we check the first alert weather. Stay with us.
Planning a Carnival Fantasy Cruise out of Mobile? Then check out the park and cruise packages at the luxurious Battle House and Renaissance Riverview Plaza hotels. Stay at the Battle House for $169 per night, or the Riverview Plaza for just $149 per night, and leave your car for the duration of your cruise. Includes transportation to and from the cruise terminal. If you're cruising out of Mobile, come stay with us. Call 1-800-MARRIOTT or visit Marriott.com now.
Invest in Kids is a $7.5 million project to build a new Boys and Girls Club in South Manatee County. I'm Caleb Grimes, and I was a club kid. It's where I learned important life lessons: leadership, integrity, responsibility, and baseball. Thousands of kids attend the Boys and Girls Clubs, and after years of use, their club is slowly falling apart. Help us invest in kids. Make your donation today.
This is the story of a boy who was very sensitive to lights and sounds. So he built secret hiding places where nothing could get in. The boy didn't like looking people in the eye. It made him feel uncomfortable. One day, he found out he had something called autism. His family got him help, and slowly, he learned how to live with it better.
Early intervention can make a lifetime of difference. Learn the signs at autismspeaks.org.
Everything all right?
Actually, you know how Tom had knee surgery?
Sure.
We found out Brad's been taking his painkillers. And it turns out he's been doing it for a while.
Most people don't know what to say about drugs, but we do. Visit us at drugfree.org.
Are you a soccer mom or dad? Regardless of their age or experience level, when your kids play soccer or any other sport, there's one person on the sideline who is key to help recognize and seek medical care for sports-related concussion. It's you. You need to know the signs and symptoms of concussion, and you need to act if you think your child has been injured. Remember, when in doubt, sit them out. To learn more, go to cdc.gov/concussion. 1001, 1002, 1003, 1004.
Our conversation on the 1 month anniversary of Parkland continues right after we get a check on the first alert forecast with Chief Meteorologist Bob Harrigan. Bob.
Thanks, Alan. A beautiful afternoon in terms of sunshine, but a chilly one at that, too. And the seas up there a little bit due to that the northwest wind at 15 knots at times. And a nice sunset taking place here just shortly. And looks as though a different story over the northeast. The nor'easter is starting to wind down after dumping up to nearly 2 feet of snow in places there in Maine. Still getting some snow, though. Some residual snow wrapping around that area of low pressure, which is now off the coast of Maine heading to the north. We have some warnings in effect. A freeze warning for North Florida and all throughout Georgia and into Alabama tonight. And in the area in red, still a high fire danger due to the low humidity. And speaking of that, the humidity now at 46%. That's the low, the dew point 38. Actual temperature now at 59 degrees with a northwest wind. It makes it feel a bit colder out there. High today was 10 degrees below the average. The record 90 set a long time ago. 22 degrees, the dew point temperature in Jacksonville. These are extreme readings now, and that's the reason why we're going to see freezing temperatures just north of the Gainesville area. And for us, we'll see lows here in some upper 30s into Highlands County, DeSoto and Hardy counties, but Sarasota and Manatee counties generally into the looks like mid 40s for the most part. Some upper 40s right along the coastline. 44 the expected low in Orlando. Tomorrow's high temperatures will still be about 10 degrees below average, and then we get back into the 70s on Friday. So if you're vacationing here and you I want to see a warmer day. Friday afternoon will start to warm up, and then the weekend looks to be really nice. Mid-70s on St. Patrick's Day, and then upper 70s to near 80 degrees on Sunday. But again, there's a 73-degree reading expected on Friday. Well, the forecast shows that nor'easter continuing to wrap up over parts of Canada, and then for us, we'll see the high pressure slip in behind it and stay with us. So skies will stay sunny throughout the day on Thursday, Friday, and even into Saturday, although we'll start to see some of the cloudiness, the upper level clouds move in on Saturday, so a mixture of sun and clouds on Saturday. Still be pretty nice. This area of low pressure will stay far enough to the north of us that we're not going to see much of a front here over the weekend. This front falls apart on Sunday, and then another front will move through on Tuesday. That'll be our best chance to rain, and even that is not all that high at this time. So the future cast showing the clear skies on Friday. Even Saturday looks good. Here comes that first front, fades away. Then on Monday and Tuesday, we get a chance for a few spotty showers as another nor'easter tries to develop. That's right, we could see another one. Possibility causing some snow across the northeast by Tuesday and Wednesday of next week. Temperatures currently not bitterly cold, but still nasty there in Toronto. It's 30 degrees, 35 in Cleveland, Boston getting 37. Very windy weather on top of that. 63, the current temperature in Kansas City. So things starting to warm up here, but that's only going to be around Thursday as another storm system moves in, brings freezing rain, snow into Omaha near Kansas City as well, and then Cleveland gets up to 35 tomorrow, nation's capital at 53. Quite a bit of snow on the ground still over the northeast due to the recent nor'easters they've experienced from Maine all the way down into parts of West Virginia and Kentucky there. Again, even out in Denver, some good skiing out there in Colorado. For boaters, northeast winds tomorrow at 15 knots, subsiding somewhat in the afternoon, 5 to 10 knots, and seas will be 2 to 3 feet with a moderate chop on the bays and inland water. So here's the 7-day forecast. Warming on Friday, and then for St. Patrick's Day, 77 degrees, 79 on Sunday, lots of sunshine. Temperatures also warming up on the low scale as well. Spring officially arrives just after noon on Tuesday, and temperatures will be spring-like into the upper 70s. Alan will be back with his guests right after this. Stick around.
My name is Stefan Campagna. We're Ben Gates and Dramus, and here is your law tip of the week. If you've been injured or arrested, I know this feels like the end of the road, but really it's the beginning of a long, potentially stressful process. So give us a call, let us give you some peace of mind.
Glasses and contacts. You need them to see, but they put such a strain on your life, you miss precious moments. Due to new advances in vision improvement technology, LASIK is now affordable for almost everyone, with procedures starting as low as $299 per eye and over 1 million procedures performed by our trusted independent surgeons. LASIK surgery is a sensible, safe, and affordable solution to improve your vision. Our simple 3-step process begins with a free evaluation, followed by an extensive preoperative exam to determine if you're a candidate for LASIK eye surgery. Depending on the results of your evaluation and eye exam, you and your surgeon will choose the LASIK option that works best for you. So call now to talk to a LASIK Vision Institute counselor and schedule your free evaluation. That's a $100 value, free. Call the LASIK Vision Institute for your free evaluation and enjoy more of your life.
Call 1-800-813-0109. 1-800-813-0109.
Your daughter just had her first breakup. Do you A, put yourself in her shoes, B, console her,
don't worry, sweetie. This is gonna happen a lot.
or C, find her a new boyfriend?
Nice single boys. That was weird.
As a parent, there are no perfect answers. But you don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will love you just the same.
Selfless service is the principle that guides Army National Guard soldiers to be ready whenever disaster strikes. They have a stake in the well-being of the neighborhoods where they live and work. They train part-time to be ready to serve at all times. Selfless service. It's what inspires the men and women of the Army National Guard to be part of something greater than themselves. Visit NationalGuard.com to learn more.
Dot Pharmacy is a website verification program that helps you identify safe and trustworthy online pharmacies. Purchasing medicine online can be safe and easy. Just look for pharmacy to the right of the dot in website addresses.
Welcome back. It has been a month since Parkland. What have we done? Have we done too much, too little? Joining us for more is Bridget Ziegler, the chair of the Sarasota County School Board, Karen Resigno of the Brady Campaign to Prevent Gun Violence, and Frank Alcock, political science professor at New College. And joining us by Skype is Ron Chapman, an attorney of at the NRA. And Ron, I want to start with something that you said earlier, where you basically said the Second Amendment is sacrosanct, and a lot of people do believe that, but I want you to respond to something that Justice Scalia, the man who has been so associated with the right to carry and bear arms, said after the court's decision. He says the Second Amendment is not unlimited. It is not a right to keep and carry any weapon whatsoever in any manner whatsoever and for whatever purpose. Your response?
Well, I agree with that, but what he's talking mostly is concealed weapons. And the Second Amendment isn't a guarantee to be able to carry a concealed weapon. But we're talking about long guns, and we're talking about making a change. There's no fundamental difference. There have been 156 mass shootings classified as more than 4 shootings at a time since 2009. Only one of those was committed by somebody under the age of 21 buying a legal firearm. So changing this, arbitrarily changing it to attack the Second Amendment, gains you nothing, but it sacrifices a lot. You walk down the slippery slope of changing something without having any type of state action necessary to accomplish what you want to accomplish.
All right, Ron, let me ask you something, because while we were in the commercial break, one of our loyal viewers phoned in and wanted me to ask you, Ron, why not change the Second Amendment? After all, it's an amendment to the Constitution.
Well, you could change the Second Amendment if you had a constitutional convention, and you would need 60% of all states to ratify that. I highly doubt that that's going to happen. The state of Florida can't change the Second Amendment. It's part of the Constitution. You have a political science professor there that could probably address that a little more detail than I can, but the Second Amendment isn't something that's going to change, not in my lifetime.
All right, let's talk a little bit about what the U.S. Congress did do today. The House of Representatives, specifically in Bridget, what they're talking about is giving local school districts more money for security. I would imagine you appreciate that, but is that enough?
Well, I think all of these in isolation aren't enough. I don't think anyone around, depending on what, despite whatever your views are on guns, Second Amendment rights, et cetera, and I'm only here to talk about the school safety component, but it's multifaceted. There's a mental health component, there is the infrastructure around school safety, and then there's the law enforcement component as to keeping schools safe. So in isolation, none work, but yes, they do cost money. What I'm very impressed with is in Sarasota County, while prior to going to Tallahassee, we did convene and have an executive session to discuss what options we were thinking and what we were currently doing to quickly move into action. And what I think in the past, even though we know Tallahassee works very quickly, and I'm very thankful for that, same with what's happening up in Congress, the reality is we need to locally figure out as a school district what's going to work best for our students, and we are taking those measures
because
right now.
Sheriff Knight told us today, even if you wanted more school resource officers in every school, he does not have them, and he does not have the budget to provide them.
Right, and I think, but again, I think all of these items are absolutely, and I appreciate Sheriff Knight's candidness and his proactiveness, because he is a subject matter expert in this area, and I defer to him for those areas of what's going to be the right fit, what's the right balance, and also he has the insight to help us as far as what's going to have what's going to benefit the schools without breaking quote unquote the bank. So that's something we have to look at. But there are longer term discussions that we need to be having as far as the culture in our schools and allowing certain elements to go too far, that I look forward to having us talk.
Carol, there are a lot of longer term discussions that we need to be having. I know that you like some of the provisions in the state law that was signed into effect by Governor Scott. Congress has done nothing really to date. In a perfect world, and I know you're going to say ban assault weapons and large capacity magazines, but for the Brady campaign, is that what it is all about?
No, and it is something that the Brady campaign believes in nationally and locally, but I would say the biggest thing would be universal background checks.
Why?
I don't know
because
if people realize how many times a gun is purchased from the back of a truck or handed from father to son. There's a proliferation of guns on our streets, in our homes, and in our schools that doesn't have to happen if we just have sensible gun laws. That's one of the things that Brady is interested in. It's named after Jim Brady, who, as you know, was shot during the attempt on Ronald Reagan's life. I would say that equally important is getting rid of what Brady calls the bad apple dealers, the dealers who are selling the guns. And that's actually not, most stores aren't doing that. Go after them. Right. Go after some of the educational projects.
Frank, we have an interesting distinction here in terms of what's happened in Florida and what is not happening in Congress. In both cases, you have a Republican legislature and a Republican chief executive, but with two different approaches here. You know, Florida did something. Governor Rick Scott signed something, and it seems like it is a non-starter in Washington. How do you explain the difference in the politics?
Governor Scott chose to step up and provide cover for...
But it wasn't just Rick Scott. I mean, it was Speaker Corcoran, it was Bill Galvano, it was a lot of people.
Well, Galvano was speaking out as well, but a number of prominent Republicans provided cover for others. When you have notable leaders in your party step up and say it's time to do something, that provides cover and allows some of the other more fearful legislators to vote their conscience. That has not happened at the federal level. It looked as if the president took a very bold stance in a meeting a couple of weeks ago, but he's totally folded and caved, and that's the big difference.
Ron, let me ask you about that, because the president in that meeting in the cabinet room with a lot of legislators from Florida, from around the country, he told members of Congress, don't be afraid of the NRA. He's not afraid of the NRA. He also suggested raising the minimum age to buy a long gun. And then just this week, he seemed to do a 180 on that. You had a lot of young people out there today saying all sorts of things about the NRA, specifically that the NRA is an impediment to anything getting done in Congress. And I want to give you a chance to respond to that.
Well, I don't think it's the NRA that's an impediment to things getting done in Congress. I think the president is a provocative president. He raised a number of issues and he started the national dialogue. Now, I think people in Congress have to step up and do the things that they have to do to solve this problem. But this problem is mostly solved at the mental health level. Understand that most of these mass shootings are either done people doing something in the heat of passion, killing a loved one, killing parents, things like that, or they're doing it because of a mental health issue and they're coming into a school and these other types of places. So we need to address the mental health. I think what the president did was provocative to challenge Congress and say, don't be afraid of the NRA. The NRA shouldn't be afraid of. The NRA is not opposed to having good background checks. The NRA is not opposed to enforcing the laws that we have. The NRA isn't opposed to getting bad dealers out of the business of selling guns to people they shouldn't sell to. The NRA supports those kinds of things. What the NRA is opposed to is changing the Second Amendment to arbitrarily going after people that are between the ages of 18 and 21. There's no rhyme or reason to do that other than all politics are local. In the state of Florida, because this last mass shooting in Parkland was in the state of Florida, they all run to a knee-jerk reaction and let's do something.
But Ron, let me ask you this, because public opinion poll after public opinion poll shows that 65 to 70% of Americans want assault weapons banned from sales, and also that large capacity magazines should not be sold. So when people look at that high percentages, and we only have less than a minute left, they're saying that the one unmovable force here is the NRA.
Well, that's not true, because assault weapons are banned in the United States. People misclassify an AR-15 as an assault weapon. It's not an assault weapon. So we have to look at classification, but assault weapons have been banned in the United States for years.
All right, well, there are a lot of smart people on both sides of this. I could imagine that they could come together and get an accurate definition of what is an assault weapon or a semi-automatic and so forth. But we have to take a quick break, and we'll be back for final thoughts in a moment.
Alex Karras Lincoln's 40th anniversary sale. Please join us in welcoming the two newest additions to the Lincoln lineup, our flagship luxury sedan, the 2018 Lincoln Continental, and the totally redesigned 2018 Lincoln Navigator, featuring 450 horsepower, 10-speed transmission, and many best-in-class features. Alex Karras Lincoln, where our mission statement is consistent commitment, every client, every time. Located 2 miles north of the Sarasota-Bradenton Airport on US 41.
Meet Blue. Blue's not feeling well. The prescription? Generic medication. Blue wonders, do they really work as well as name brands? Yes, generics and name brand medications do work the same. Even though they may look different, generics have the same key ingredients. FDA approval is equally rigorous for generics to make sure they're as safe and effective as name brands. And Blue even saves him green, making him a little less, well, blue. Talk to your doctor about generics and visit fda.gov/generic drugs.
That is a pretty good breakfast. You're not even eating.
Not hungry.
No? Why not? What's up?
Kath and I knew that Jenny had been partying a bit. Found out she tried heroin.
Most people don't know what to say about drugs, but we do. Visit us at drugfree.org.
Every child follows a path in life. For many, that path will lead them to a door that gives them a place to grow, to learn, to belong, a place to forge their future. Because while many doors open, these doors transform. They did for us. Support your local Boys and Girls Clubs. Great futures start here.
Check out My Suncoast Dining on mysuncoast.com, your guide to the foodie lifestyle. ABC7's own Chef Judy serves up her favorite recipes, cooking tips and trends, dining blogs, step-by-step videos, and Suncoast Restaurant Guide. You'll find it all at mysuncoast.com/dining.
And our guests join us right now for final thoughts. And Frank, I'll start with you because around the country there are a lot of things that students are saying, and their parents and their teachers, are about minimum requirements that they want to see in every school. And one of them is metal detectors.
I think that they would feel safer if you had metal detectors. I'm not sure what the cost of putting those in all schools is, but I think that that's one that we might even see some traction on that. We might see that get somewhere. What I've heard, though, I think from the students again and again, it's about, is there anything that we can do to keep weapons out of the hands of people shouldn't have them, and that's the universal background checks, and I think we can be doing things that we're not doing. The assault weapons ban, but again, it just comes back to, is there anything that we can do to lessen the lethality of these weapons? Even if there was just 16 people that died as opposed to 17, that's one life, and that would be worth it. And I think the other thing that you're seeing in the demands is that given that there are signals of violence, is there anything that we can do to take weapons out of the hands of people that shouldn't have them after they already do?
Bridget, you know, a lot of people have been in awe of these students, not only from Sarasota, from Parkland, from across the country, but what would you say to those folks out there who are taking aim at these students and saying that they're being put up by forces politically to do these things, and that they should basically be students, and unless they're of voting age, they really don't have a say right now?
Well, I think that people are going to say whatever they're going to say, and honestly, I think I would say in Sarasota County and across the nation, this is an opportunity, and the students' perspective, whether you agree politically with them or not, are a very valuable point of view because they're living this life every single day. So when we're trying to come up with solutions, we need their eyes and ears from a perspective standpoint on what's going to work, but also to be aware to keep things from happening. So they are an important part of this equation.
Carol, I'm going to ask you just to be brief here, but what we just saw in that special election in Pennsylvania is that the Democrat could win in a very deeply red district, but he did commercials with AR-15s.
Quite frankly, I did not know he did commercials with
Yes.
AR-15s. I know that he leaned more Republican. in many ways than democratic. I just want to say that this is such a bigger issue than this one horrific school shooting. And as much as I appreciate the fact that we need to do things to the schools, I think we need to remember that Pulse and South Sutherland and Vegas were not in schools.
And
it's
Ron,
a bigger issue.
Ron, we have about 45 seconds left, but I wanted to give you the last word here. And the question that always occurs to me is, we're working on making our schools safer, but what happens when these kids get out of school and go to the movies? And what happens when they go to the concerts? You're not going to have metal detectors at every one of these locations, or are you?
Well, you're not going to have metal detectors there, and that's why taking guns away from law-abiding citizens doesn't do anything to solve your problem and actually increases your problem. The NRA is in favor of enforcing existing laws. Many times the existing laws are not enforced. We can do that. We can enhance background checks. And we can make sure that people that shouldn't have guns don't have guns. But taking guns away from law-abiding citizens in any form or fashion does nothing but increase your chances of having a negative result.
Okay, and we have to leave it there. We want to thank our guests, Bridget Ziegler, the chair of the Sarasota County School Board, Karen Resigno of the Brady Campaign to Prevent Gun Violence, Frank Alcock, political science professor at New College, and joining us by Skype, Ron Chapman, an attorney for the NRA. FYI, you can watch past roundtable discussions. We'll be back in just a moment.
I heard about the Dotoli Cancer Center through friends of mine who had been treated here and were very pleased with the treatment.
If there is prostate cancer, we at the Dotoli Cancer Center will find it using 3D color flow Doppler ultrasound.
And that helped precisely identify where my cancer was. I can tell you that you will not find a finer, more professional team of clinicians anywhere in the world.
Thank you. You got a king?
Go fish!
It only takes a moment to make a moment. Take time to be a dad today.
Performing on stage takes mental and physical preparation. But one thing I never thought to prepare for was cervical cancer. 91% of cervical cancers are caused by the human papillomavirus, or HPV. The good news is there are vaccines that can protect you or your children from cancer. I survived my cancer, but you can stop cancer before it starts. Talk to your doctor and go to thinkaboutthelink.org to learn more.
FYI, you can watch past discussions on demand. They're available on Apple TV, Amazon Fire, and Roku. And for the latest on local breaking news, don't forget to download the updated version of our app. If your current app doesn't work, that's because it's expired. Just go to the App Store and re-download it by searching for WWSB or My Suncoast. When we return, we'll have President Trump announcing a new addition to his cabinet. We'll tell you who after the break.
If you're looking for the perfect trip that allows you to spend quality time with the family, then discover the great outdoors on an Alabama Black Belt adventure. Create unforgettable memories while hunting, fishing, or biking and hiking. Or play the Robert Trent Jones Golf Trail, now celebrating 25 years. And while you're here, enjoy the flavors of the Black Belt. Book your adventure at our lodges or stay in the Renaissance Montgomery Hotel and Spa. Start planning an Alabama Black Belt adventure today.
You now have the power to prioritize your Facebook feed and get local news and information from the team you trust. Go to the ABC7 Sarasota page on Facebook. Give us a like, then click following and choose See First. That's it. Customize even more by choosing notifications. Choose breaking news, posts, live videos, anything you want to see in real time. Take control of your newsfeed and stay connected to what's happening in your community with ABC7 on Facebook.
I took my first handful of pills, and that's when all my priorities seemed to change.
He would ask to use the bathroom in other people's homes.
He just assumed that they would have medication.
He'd go in their medicine cabinets and steal prescription drugs.
I wish I knew really what these prescription pills were.
We were so naive about the whole drug thing.
These are all synthetic forms of heroin.
Keep your medication locked up because you'll never notice that a pill is gone.
Mind your meds. Learn more from the Partnership for Drug-Free Kids.
Soldiers in the Army National Guard serve to give back to their country and communities. Their part-time commitment qualifies them for an array of benefits, such as affordable health and life insurance benefits, education benefits, including tuition assistance, student loan repayment and GI Bill programs, a retirement plan based on part-time service, and VA home mortgages. Visit NationalGuard.com to learn more about all the benefits available in the Army National Guard.
There was this big bruise on my friend's face. I didn't want to see it. I didn't want to think her own nephew could have hit her.
I didn't want to see it. My mother's bank account was emptied, and a caregiver had taken control of it.
I didn't want to see it. My father's refrigerator, there was hardly anything in it. That's unusual for him.
It's tough to see that a senior citizen is being abused, physically, emotionally, sexually, or financially. Elder abuse is a crime.
So see the signs. Stop the crimes.
Checking primetime headlines, the White House has had plenty of turnover this past year, and each time somebody gets fired or resigns, that spot needs to be filled. Well, President Trump has announced who will replace Gary Cohn as the next director for the Economic Council. And like the president, he has a background in television. ABC's Karen Travers has more.
After so many recent high-profile departures, someone new is coming on board here at the White House in a very senior role. President Trump is turning to economist and CNBC contributor Larry Kudlow to be the next director of the National Economic Council. Kudlow replaces Gary Cohn, who resigned last week, largely because of his opposition to the president's new tariffs on steel and aluminum. Kudlow advised President Trump on economic issues during the campaign and helped craft the administration's tax plan. He, too, was opposed to the tariffs, but that seems to be fine for the president.
We don't agree on everything, but in this case, I think that's good. I want to have a divergent opinion.
And on the day he fired Secretary of State Rex Tillerson, a strong signal Tuesday from President Trump that there could be more changes to come.
I'm really at a point where we're getting very close to having the cabinet and other things that I want.
And the staff turnover continues too. The president's personal assistant, John McEntee, one of the originals from the campaign trail, escorted off the White House grounds Monday, not even allowed to pack up his desk or get his jacket. The reason? Problems with his security clearance. But just minutes after the news broke that McEntee was fired, the president's 2020 re-election campaign announced he was coming on board in a senior position. A longtime friend of the president's who speaks with him regularly says the recent chaos isn't because President Trump has lost control, but that he's taking it back. This friend says that the president feels emboldened that so many of the worst case scenario predictions haven't happened after some of his dramatic moves, and that could lead to more shakeups. Karen Travers, ABC News, the White House.
The special election in western Pennsylvania is still too close to call officially, but it appears Democratic candidate Conor Lamb will beat his Republican opponent in a district President Trump won by 20 points. Lamb has a slight lead over Rick Saccone in a race that will decide who will represent the state's 18th congressional district. The race now hinges on absentee and provisional ballots before the winner can be made official. Acclaimed British physicist Stephen Hawking has died at the age of 76. Widely considered the world's greatest living scientist, Hawking was widely known for both in scientific circles and popular culture. He worked to theorize space and time and began the Big Bang theory and will end in black holes. He has lived with ALS. I'm Alan Cohn. Good night.